Hello everyone, good morning and welcome back to Sports Today. We're here with you on this wonderful Saturday morning with, of course, our morning update, bringing you all the things that you might have missed taking place whilst, of course, you were catching that all-important sleep. So without any further ado, let's just get straight down to it. And unfortunately, the fallout from India's loss in the semi-finals of the T20 World Cup against England carries on. In fact, the scathing criticism is now coming from one of India's former World Cup winning captains in the form of this man, Kapil Dev. Now, Kapil Dev has actually gone on record and said that you can call the Indian team chokers if you want. He's saying you can call them chokers, that's okay. They come close to an important victory and then they choke, is something that he told another news channel. He did, however, mention very clearly that, look, we shouldn't be too harsh on them either. I agree, India played bad cricket, but we cannot be overly critical based on just this one game. It's a valid point to make, but it also is worth noting that the criticism is flowing in because of consistent failures over the course of many years and many tournaments. That being said, it does make sense to not overly criticize and be too harsh because, of course, it is worth remembering that none of them go there wanting to lose matches or anything of that sort. It happens due to a number of factors and sometimes is not entirely in the control of players either. That being said, as I said, the criticism is coming on and understandably so. In fact, former England cricketer Michael Vaughan has actually come out and called India one of the most underachieving teams in white ball cricket in recent memory. In fact, in a column penned in British Daily, the Daily Telegraph, he said, since winning the 50-over World Cup in 2011, what have India done? Nothing. They're playing a white ball game that is dated and have done so for years. India are the most underperforming white ball team in history. Every player in the world who goes to the Indian Premier League says how it improves their game, but what have India ever delivered? I am just staggered by how they play T20 cricket for the talent they have. They have the players, but they just do not have the right process in place. They have to go for it. Why do they give the opposition bowlers the first 5 overs to bed in? And that is something that a lot of people had been pointing out, not just during the England game, but even before that. Why is it that the players are so keen on taking that time, or that much time to bed in? The take the game deep template only works in certain situations, and truth be told, most teams don't actually look to take the game deep. They look to be aggressive when they get the opportunity and not just leave the burden of run scoring for the death overs. That approach doesn't make sense in today's day and age. The MS Dhoni approach, as we in India call it, is pretty much done for unless in certain circumstances only. It's not a template that is going to work every single time. Unfortunately, India were trying to do just that. And due to that, well, and speaking of things that don't quite work in the current format, Ravichandran Ashwin has come in for a certain degree of criticism from not just fans but former players. The latest who has actually added his voice to that ever-growing chorus is former Pakistan skipper Danish Kaneria. He said that, look, he posted a video on his YouTube channel and he said that Ravichandran Ashwin did not deserve to play in the T20 World Cup. He cannot do well in Australian conditions. He should only play test cricket. And in fact, he put in an even further, more damning, scathing assessment by saying Virat Kohli did the right thing when he was captain, when he reserved Ashwin for only the longer format. T20 cricket is not his cup of tea. Being an off-spinner, he cannot bowl off-spin. Now, that is another criticism that a lot of us have kind of leveled at Ashwin. Not that he can't bowl off-spin, but because in the quest for variations, not getting hit, maybe finding wickets on occasion, he does tend to focus too much on trying different things rather than focusing on his strengths, sticking to basics and then mixing that up with variations. The best bowlers in world cricket in this format are the ones who more often than not have their stock ball, which they know how to bowl most of the time, and then will throw in a few variations to confuse batsmen and potentially, add that uncertainty, and that's how they get wickets. But Ashwin, more often than not, he's going to be bowling to situations rather than relying on his strengths, and that is one of the reasons why in recent times he's just not been a wicket taker in white ball cricket. Whether or not he has any future in the team after this, well, that's something that remains to be seen. But I think we've had enough of the cricket talk for now. Let's move on to another sport and let's talk about these two players, Harry Maguire and Fred. Manchester United fans will doubtless feel tired having ranted so much about both of these players, but that situation might not be coming around or staying around for too much longer, because multiple news reports suggest that United manager Erik ten Hag is keen to offload both of these players. Now remember, United have signed Harry Maguire in 2019 if I'm not wrong, and they signed him for a record fee for a defender. He's currently even the club captain, but based on the pecking order in terms of centre backs, he's essentially fourth choice. The first choice pairing is Lisandro Martinez and Rafael Varane. Victor Lindelof is the player who comes in as and when needed, and Maguire, whilst Ten Hag reportedly appreciates the professionalism he's shown, he doesn't believe that his style of play is suited to the way he wants United to be playing. In fact, he sees Maguire reportedly as a little slow and sluggish at times, and that's the reason why they're willing to let him go, and they agree that they would have to be done so on a significantly cut price fee. There's no way United are recovering anything close to 80 million for a defender whose stock has fallen significantly. Now, Fred, in all fairness, has impressed a little more in recent times, but again, Ten Hag is keen to actually get in another midfielder, because at the moment, Fred has played well, but he does play well only in patches, and he's currently in the last year of his deal, and it seems unlikely that United will be renewing that deal, even though they actually do have an option for an additional 12 years. Keeping you up with the football news, Jurgen Klopps, Liverpool's manager, has been handed a one-match touchline ban for his histrionics against during the match against Manchester City, where you remember he ended up getting a red card, and then was the punishment was appealed. But rather than him getting a fine, all he gets is a basic one-match ban, which will be served out this weekend when Liverpool take on Southampton. So Klopp will not be in the dugout at that point. The team will be led by the assistant manager. Now, moving our focus on from club football to international football, a lot of teams have announced their squads, and Paulo Dybala has been named in the Argentina squad despite the fact that he's not played any football since October. Now, you remember he picked up a bit of an injury, hasn't been playing too much since then, or hasn't played at all, and he's been clearly a key man missing even for AS Roma, his new club. But he's been named in the Argentina squad despite the fact that he's still injured, in the hopes that he will actually recover his fitness before or during the tournament when it's taking place. Similar case for Sadio Mane, who most people remember who I thought was out of the World Cup, but he has also been named in Senegal's squad, and he will be part of the squad, and there's a hope that he will be able to recover in time for the knockouts, or at least the final group game which Senegal would have to play. So that's good news if you're a fan of these guys. Don't forget, World Cup is now about a week's time away. Stay tuned with us. We'll be bringing you lots of coverage even from there, because of course World Cup, the carnival of world football, is something we all enjoy watching, right? But for now, moving our focus on to Formula 1, and no, in case you're thinking that's a photoshopped image, I can assure you it's not. Kevin Magnussen has taken the first ever pole position for a Haas car. You heard that right. First ever pole position for the American team in the Brazilian Grand Prix. Now, of course, if you're wondering how it is that qualifying happened on Friday, it's because the Brazilian Grand Prix is a sprint race weekend. So that means the grid for Sunday will be set by the sprint race on Saturday, but the grid for Saturday's sprint race is set by qualifying. And that means that K-Mag, who made his comeback to Formula 1 this year, replacing Nikita Mazepin in the American team, is now a pole sitter. And it was a pretty impressive lap, although it did require a little bit of, you can call it luck, but let's just say that Haas read the conditions better than anyone else. It was raining in Sao Paulo, and what happened was they sent Magnussen out at a time when the track was only slightly wet but beginning to dry, which was actually the perfect time to stay on slick tires rather than wet weather tires. So because of that, he had an empty track, he could put in a good flying lap, and in the end ended up getting pole position. Congratulations to Kevin Magnussen, and congratulations to people who have a soft spot for Haas. They look like a bunch of, I can't say that word, bleep legends. Last but not least, some news from an Indian perspective. Indian boxers have won 5 medals at the ASBC Asian Elite Boxing Championships. That's right, 5 medals, 4 of which are gold, including of this one, Lovelina Borgohain, Parveen is the other one, Sawiti and Alfia Pathan. 4 boxers have won gold medals. India could have made it 5, but unfortunately Meenakshi, the 5th boxer who ended up making it to the final in her own weight category, did not win her bout, so ended up settling for a silver. Nevertheless, 5 boxing medals, very, very impressive, especially since 4 of them are gold, and all of them came by India actually making it as far as the final round. And that's it for this particular edition of the morning update. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Don't forget that if you enjoy what it is that we do, you can like this video, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel, and tap that bell icon if you haven't already. And of course, don't forget to leave us a comment as well. Which of these news items excited you the most, made you the happiest, ensured that you had a good start to the day? Let us know. And don't forget to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook as well. And last but not least, download the AajTak app. Thank you all for joining us. As always, I've been Shane Rice. I hope to see you with us through the day. But for now, goodbye.